Sex. This is episode 1 of the weekly daily, and we're just here hanging out, talking about a game that we're like really passionate about and that we like a lot, and see where it goes from here. Let's figure out what this is.
I'm Spec, main tank. Been playing the game for about 8 years, on and off.
8 years, man,
Yeah,
that's a lot longer than I have.
yeah.
So I am Dino, Guardian Druid, Wormester Court. I've been playing for, let's see, beginning of Kata. When did Kata come out? That's five
Four, four,
years almost.
4 or 5. Yeah.
So I guess it's not.
Time flies.
Yeah, I guess it's not that much more. Holy crap! But yeah,
Uh,
big week for WoW, huh?
oh yeah, definitely.
BlizzCon going on as we speak.
Yeah. Good. Good starting points for us.
Yeah, good week to start. I mean, I think I think maybe too good.
Yeah.
There's a lot to talk about. Obviously, we're not gonna cover everything that has been talked about because we probably won't have that kind of time, and especially for this episode. But as the show goes on and as we record more episodes, we're gonna be diving into particular subjects more in depth. I think. I think this is gonna be more of a kind of introductory episode, just to kind of show, let people know who we are and what's up. What have you been doing in the game this past? I mean, since Legion's been out what, a month and a half now, almost 2 months now.
Yeah. Two
How
months
how are
actually
you how are you
on the
liking
dot.
it?
Um, I'm not the biggest fan of the class order halls. I know a lot of people are loving it, but it just seems kind of one of those grindy things you have to do, which I'm not the biggest fan of. I am loving raiding and just mythics, dungeons, all the good PvE, juicy PvE stuff.
So it seems to me like that I have mixed feelings about the class order hall, because it seems to me that if you're the kind of player that just likes raiding and you want to do just that in a hardcore kind of way, you're almost kind of forced into like taking care of everything as far as class order hall goes, quest lines for the story, and and all that, just to like get the boost for your artifact power, getting more artifact power and faster artifact power. But I feel like you can't just do raiding for the sake of raiding anymore. I know
No,
that I know that I've seen some people struggling because they don't want to do like all everything that you have to do as far as the class order halls and that kind of stuff. And then if you don't do that, I feel like you will fall behind fairly quickly.
oh yeah, and you will. But if you do want to raid, you'll know that that's something you're gonna have to do to be on the next level or at where you should be to raid at a higher level. And I honestly just do enough to get enough garrison, or not garrison resources. See, there I go again. Order resources to get me through the day and get the stuff I need, like the artifact knowledge, and get some missions going and get followers upgraded and all that good stuff. But I'm not there farming world quests all day every day just to farm them. I get enough for what I need to do, and then that's it. I'll go do some mythic pluses, some mythics, LFR, find a couple pugs, but I'd rather sit in a raid than
Yeah.
do world quests or other grindy things.
I feel like that's what I'm struggling with right now, because I like the content. Like, I love Mythic Dungeons and I love the raid. Like, I enjoy it a lot. And to the point where I've been just getting on puck groups after our regular clear and just like practicing the fights just to see if I can do something better, or a different way that's more effective. But it's kind of hindering in that I am falling behind fairly quickly on my class order hall, and especially on my research, my artifact research, because I don't have any class order hall resources because I'm not world questing. And same thing with my artifact power. I feel like now I'm getting a decent amount of artifact power from the dungeons and raids and the bosses and that kind of stuff. But I feel like I'm still not getting it quick enough to where I have to world quest just to keep
Y-
up with everyone.
Yeah, I'll do like the four or whatever world quests to finish a cache in each zone, and each world quest I do is going to reward me with order hall resources, and then you get the extra ones from the cache, and usually that's enough to last me a couple days.
Right.
So it's just it's a little bit of a pain to get out there for 20 minutes to get those four done, but it's worth it, I think.
Yeah, and it goes to show how little world questing I've done that I mean, I've done world questing, but it's almost like the mind-numbing thing to do is I'm not even paying attention. I just open the map, see where there's class order hall resources or artifact power, and I go do whatever that is. And then I notice that I have some quests that I can turn in over there to get a cash from it. But I don't know. I didn't know up until yesterday. I didn't know that the factions actually rotated. Like you have you finish one faction and turn it in, and then like the next day there will be another faction that you can quest for. Like I never noticed. I thought it was the same three factions every time.
Nope.
Like I just didn't pay attention to it. I just like okay, do all these and then go turn it in over there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I only do them for order hall resources. I'm not gonna go get the gear. Or I don't think I've ever done a single pet battle, so I'm not gonna do any of that. I don't PvP at all. I mean, all my artifact power comes from raids and dungeons, so I'm not gonna go getting doing artifact power world quests. But that's my main, like, if I need a garrison or not, Jesus, order hall resources. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna do four of those and get the cash, and that's usually about 1,000 right there. So do those
Right.
every couple days, and I'm usually where I should be for the week.
Do you think that we're getting content too fast now?
Um, I definitely think we had a lot of content at the start, but the way the game's played now is people just rush through the content as fast as they can, whereas back in Wrath or even Kata, people played to experience the content and just see what the game was.
But
Now,
I think that was like I think that's kind of true, but I think that was a result of the amount of content that there was because Kata and Wrath, I don't feel like I don't know much about Wrath because I started in early Kata, but I feel that Kata didn't have enough content to rush through content just for the sake of finishing it or getting as much done as possible. I feel like you almost had to kind of savor what you had in order to make it
yeah,
count.
yeah, I can see where you're coming from, but uh, maybe that's just like how I played and how how I saw other people playing back in those days. But now it just seems like people don't want to like experience the content. They just want to get as far as they can as quickly as possible. Maybe that's just what I'm seeing, but I definitely agree with you. There was probably less content at launch during Wrath and Kata, but I think for the way people are playing, or what I've seen people playing the game now, I think we're getting a good pace. We're on a good track of content.
Right. Also feel a little biased that we are in we switched servers and we came from a very low pop server into a very high pop server. So it seems a lot busier and it seems like there's always something going on and there's always, like there's always people in trade chat and general and it's very busy. It's a very busy server. For the first time ever, I got a queue time to log in last week, It was only like 30 seconds, but I never seen that screen whenever you
Well,
log in.
yeah, I got some of those at launch for Warm Rest, but you didn't get to experience the Rexar that I did. Rexar was one of the highest populated servers in like mid Wrath, and then right when everything there was a bunch of drama on the server, and then a bunch of the top guilds left or disbanded, so that kind of caused a little bit of a crash. Um, but yeah, the Warm Rest now is kind of mirroring what Rexar was, I think, because it's Warm Rest is a RP PvP server and Rexar is normal, so they're basically the same. I mean, there's not too big of a difference. So I I think that we are you're getting to experience like what I got to experience when a server was at its peak and like flourishing, not
Right,
dying.
when Rexar was new and shiny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. But I don't know. I really do feel that the game it I'm enjoying the game now better than I ever have. Like even the brand new shiny exciting WoW wasn't this new and shiny for me. And for a lot of different reasons. Like I feel now that all the things that I wanted to change about the game before are like slowly shifting in that direction, and there's new things that I didn't think about that that are being improved in the game, and it's really cool. Do you think that the looking for group tool has been a good addition to the game?
I think I mean now when they first introduced it, I think it was a bad move, but then again, they were looking to please the more casual people, and that's what that was for. But now that we've got Mythic Pluses and Mythics where you physically have to run together or get a group together, find people, run to the dungeon, it's kind of shifting, like making it more balanced for like the higher level players and like the casual players and lower level, like lower lower skill leveled players. So I think it's definitely a good addition now that we're seeing the mythic pluses and the mythics and like having to actually get a group together and go kill some shit.
Right, and especially if you especially if you were like the group leader trying to get the group together and trying to spam trade chat to find and having to settle for uh for whatever you got at the time. But I feel also that the looking for group to has kind of diminished the community a little bit. Because before it, I remember knowing the people of my server, like knowing or seeing a name and knowing and having a like a preconceived opinion of that person from a previous run. Or like if somebody would whisper me for an invite, I was like, "Oh yeah, I brought you last week. You didn't do too bad. Let's go." And that kind of thing. I do miss that a lot. I remember a lot too. I used to when we were raiding, I think it was Firelands. Um, I remember helping out just like three different guilds on a weekly basis, just in different characters and that kind of stuff. And it just felt like a more tight, like a tighter community. And I do think now, like obviously, I think it's a good addition to the game, because you can get a lot more content done in a lot less time. Like before, I think most of our time was spamming trade or sitting in a group outside an instance waiting for the group leader to fill the group, and you're just there. And back then we didn't even have toys. I mean, like it was just literally someone alt tapped watching YouTube while the group filled up for an hour,
Yeah.
and then you would go in and wipe, and two wipes in, people would start leaving, and then go sit for another hour trying to find somebody else. So I definitely think it's a good addition to, but I think there's a trade-off. Like I think that we lost something with the benefit.
Yeah. You're saying like it diminished like the social and like just player interaction of the game.
Yeah, well, maybe not that. Maybe just the closer community to because also we didn't have uh, cross server stuff, so you like got to know the people on your server because at whatever time you log on, that's the same time that everyone in your server that you would play with it's logging on. Like you only get to see the people that have the same kind of schedule that you do. So you start seeing that after a while, you start seeing the same names, and then you start like the server almost feels like a small. It just almost feels like a small neighborhood, right? Like a small community of people that everyone know each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I most of my time in the game has been guild related. Like I've always played with my guild, and like I'd have a few friends here and there that have like either left the guild and I still keep in contact with them, or I just randomly meet in a pug or just like doing a trade or something, and I end up making friends with them. But I don't, from my point of view, I don't think the game like socially or like the server interaction of people has changed all that much.
Right. Yeah, and I think that there's been some improvements as far as that goes too, because like you said with the mythic dungeons that you have to go to the instance and like actually um, have to interact with the people. So have you noticed that whenever you look for a group and there's like someone that you know in there, like the text color for the group changes?
Yeah.
And it's blue, and I've like now that because I get either added or I add people to my battle.net, like the more I do that, the more I start seeing that blue text on groups. So I think in a way it's just expanding the community.
Yeah, I can see that. Just I think I was going to bring something similar to that up. Whereas, like now that we have that BattleNet, we're kind of making all of the servers into one big server where you can go to any server you want really and have any friends on any server and kind of experience an even bigger game. Whereas back in the day, you had your one little server, and if it was a small server, a dying server, for example, Regstar, you didn't really get to experience like the game, the way the game used to be, where you see a bunch of different people and maybe you know a little bit about them, and you have your guild where you know a lot about or
Right.
a little bit about everybody in the guild, and it's just kind of like real life.
Yeah.
You have your neighborhood, you know everybody in your neighborhood, and then you go outside and say, "Hey, you look familiar," or you don't say that, but like you recognize some people, and then I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird to think about now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, yeah, but on that same note though, like I wish that because the guilds are almost kind of prohibitive in that sense because you can't have people in your guild from different servers, which I think it's kind of a disservice. Like there's so many people that you would want to have in your guild that just don't have or don't want to pay for $25 to transfer. That like I think that should be that we should start, or the game rather should start moving in that direction a little more, because all guilds encourage like play with your guildies more, like
Yeah.
like all guilds encourage like our groups are whatever whoever we have on, and if we're missing something we go on the looking for group thing. We don't really individually go pugging all that much before spamming guild chat.
Yeah, then if you go into that sense, you have to think Blizzard is still a business and they want to make money. So they're not going to say, "Oh, let's take this feature out that we can make money on so that you can go join a guild on another server."
Right.
So I don't see that happening anytime
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah, maybe, but I think that would retain players a little more, because I was really close to whenever right before we changed servers. I was really close to just stop playing all together because there was nobody on in my server in my guild that was the only person on a regular basis. Every once in a great while, Zacho would hop on there
Yeah.
on one of his alts because he had transferred already one of his mains somewhere else.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm comfortable where we're at as a guild and as a server. I really am enjoying Wormrest Accord so far. So
Yeah,
it
so
seems
people
like
were
a lot.
sketchy. People were sketchy about the RP thing, about Rumors Accord being RP and we not being us not being an RP guild or really interested in RPing altogether. But I feel that that people in RP servers are friendlier. Like you have a lot less douchebaggery.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that. I've played on big PvP servers. I've played on normal servers, and I think so far this is like one of the friendliest experiences I've had. I've played on the biggest PvP servers I played on Darkspear and Tichondrius, and almost everybody was toxic about everything, and it was just not very enjoyable at all.
Right. I bet PvP. I've never played a PvP server, but I would imagine it's nothing but people raging like 24/7.
It's
Either raging or like boasting because either you're getting ganked or you're ganking someone.
yeah, it's fun though. I had fun when I was PvPing.
I feel like is there any type of like uh honor system in PvP servers to where like you see someone and you for whatever reason don't kill them?
Yeah, that's usually just between you and like another person on the opposite faction. It's not like sometimes it'll be guilds and guilds. Like you'll have a sister guild on the alliance, and you're a horde player or something. But usually it's like player interactions. Like you're both like either really bad or really good, and
Right.
you're not gonna bother ganking each other. Usually that stuff's done in
I feel like
arena.
that's almost like necessary to get stuff done. Like I couldn't imagine doing any world anything in a PvP server without having it being interrupted by somebody else.
Yeah,
In a way,
it's pretty hectic.
sounds fun. In a way, sounds like a different type of fun.
Yeah, I played an Arms Warrior when Arms Warrior were one of the top PvP specs, so I didn't have too much trouble fending fending myself off.
So talking about the guilds a little bit. Um, so let's talk a little bit about our guild, like where we come from and like what are we, you know, like as far as the guild goes.
Yeah, I want to hear what you think, what your opinions are on it, and then I'll kind of elaborate and give my 2 cents.
Okay, about the backstory or where we are.
Um, we'll talk about the backstory, and then I want to hear your explanation of what we are first, and then I'll chime in a little bit.
Okay, so so a little bit about the backstory of the guilds. Whenever I very first started um, World of Warcraft with a friend of mine, he had been playing the game for about a year at that point, and he just kept like bugging me to start playing it. I was not interested, but he just bugged me and bugged me. I was like, fine, I'll give it a shot. And just through the leveling process, like I was just super bored. I hated the game. Like I remember I started with a trial account, and he's like, oh yeah, you know, once you hit level 10, it'll all be awesome. And then we hit level 10, and it's like, no, dude, you just gotta wait for level 15, like dungeons unlock. And he's like telling me about dungeons and how they work or whatever. And like he wanted me to tank. He was a druid at the time. Uh, no, what was he? He was a resto shaman, I think it was. Yeah, he was a resto shaman. So he's like, you should tank, you know, like just whatever, we'll go in there and like I'll heal you, you tank. We'll have the group in the bag, like we just do everything. I was like, okay, whatever. So I get to 15 and we start doing like dungeons, and I remember I was tanking in cat form like for like for like the first 2 months of me playing my druid. But anyways, like it was this thing where every 10 levels or so I was about to stop playing. It's like, no, when you get to 60, dude, that's when it gets really good. That happened all the way till we got to 85. And then actually right before 85 we decided to start the guild. And the guild, what was the guild called? I got a horde on, I think it was. Yeah.
Man, you've been in so many guilds the past 4 years. It's
Yeah, well, it's not really that many. It's like they pretty
different
much,
names.
yeah, exactly. They pretty much been all the same guild.
Yeah.
But so we started before we hit max level. We started this guild and we just started recruiting like crazy. And we're leading a guild. It's like the blind leading the blind. We're not even max level. We don't even know what max level content looks like, and we're inviting people left and right to the guild. And like finally we get to max level, and after that, like there was a spike in activity. Like we started like figuring out raids and figuring out, like, I mean, at that point the guild wasn't raiding yet, obviously. But like me on my own, like going and like queuing up for stuff and like actually reading about my class and like tanking, and that's when I started helping other guilds. And as I was getting good with raiding, I started like putting together our little raid team. Eventually he stopped playing and it was just me left in the guild, like kind of running things. And then I met the GMs for your guild at the time, through one of those uh, runs where they were running. I think they were running either Firelance or Dragon Soul, and they
I think it
needed
was
a
Dragon Soul.
tank. Yeah, they needed a tank, and I remember going in there, and it was like the Morchok heroic fight.
Yeah.
No, was it the heroic? No, I think it was the normal because I said I could solo tank it. And I remember your GM was like, "Oh, okay, well, give it a go." I was like, "All right." So they were like, they were like really happy with it. And then I just started going on their runs like every week, and eventually my guild just started kind of dying down, and we ended up at some point merging the two guilds. That was a feat.
That was with the hallucinogen at the time.
Okay, okay. So in between the merge, I got a horde on. The name got banned
Yeah, I
because
remember you
we got
telling me about
reported. So we changed it to hallucinogen.
that. Yeah. Yeah. I kind of miss Dragon Soul. Remember I was telling you the other day that I was rating heroic rating on 4 different characters. So I think I was rating with your guild on my hunter, with CSP on my uh shoot brain fart DK, and then I was pugging heroic runs on my
What was the
holy
name of
priest
that other guild
lethality.
that you and I both tanked for without knowing at some point?
Shoot, I can't remember.
I remember them
That was
being
so long ago.
assholes though.
Yeah, they were. They were elitists. But
Yeah.
I think I main tanked for them. Man, I was so good in Dragon Soul on my DK. I could solo tank like everything. DKs were OP. I could just face roll and be the best. Oh,
So eventually, the merge of the two guilds wasn't enough to hold the interest in people to stay playing. So we merged the two guilds and we called it. So CSP was Corpus and Pectore, and
yeah,
then Hallucinogen. When we merged, we all went to CSP and we called it Hallucinating Corpses. That,
yep.
that was really bad. I don't know what we were thinking, but after that, we started raiding. The beginning of Pandaria was when the merge happened. Well, halfway through Pandaria, the previous CSP admin team just kind of everyone just kind of quit or transferred. There was a big like drama patch there for the guild. I wasn't guild hopping, but I was doing my thing, where I go and try to find like go take an alt into a different guild just to see what they're doing that I'm not doing, and like what they're doing better and what I can improve on. And
Yeah.
that's when I met our current GM, or one of our current GMs, because we have two GMs. But so Jess, she was an officer in this guild in Pandaria, at the beginning of Pandaria, and I took my mage into her guild, and I was doing some serious DPS on that mage. I was Frost, and we were doing Throne of Thunder. Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah, they were doing progression in Throne of Thunder, and our guild at that point was still on the previous raid. I think it was Mogusha. No, what's the other one with the three bosses? Only four bosses in the same, like almost the
Um,
same area, same room.
the
Terrace of Emerald
yeah,
Springs.
Terrace Emerald Springs. Yeah.
So our guild was stuck in Terrace still, and her guild was doing Throne of Thunder. Eventually, the progression on her guild was pretty bad. Like I think we got like two bosses down, and after a while, everyone's spirit was just dying, and everyone started quitting left and right. Her GM quit, and eventually, I ended up leaving her guild, and then I don't know, I don't really know what happened on her side after that, but like she would come to our runs. She came to a couple of our runs, and then I asked her if she wanted to join, and it was like one of those things like I thought you'd never ask type of thing. So she joined our guild. Then what was our progression like then?
I didn't. I think I came back. I quit in MOP for like half of it and came back for SOO.
Oh, okay.
So that's. I
So
think.
so I think that happens I think that happened for a lot of people actually. I think we skipped Throne of Thunder almost entirely.
Yeah.
I think we killed two bosses in there and that was it.
Yeah. I was just really burnt out because I only played the DK that expansion, and I was like, all right, I gotta take a break and do some other things. So I played some other games, and I was like, all right, time to go back. I always that's my cycle. I'm on for like 6 months, off for two, on for another 6 months. It's kind of weird, but yeah. Siege of Orgrimmar. Let's talk about that.
It's one of is there been any other bosses in WoW that has had a birthday?
Um,
Like
I don't
like
think so.
in Siege, Garrosh literally had a birthday. Like the
Yeah,
raid
it
was
was.
up for over a year.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
crazy. So while we were in there, while we were progressing um through SOO, Siege of Orgrimmar, we also lost a lot of people. We also got a lot of new people. Jess ended up having to go to stop playing for a while. She had some personal stuff going on, and then we cleared that. And then after we cleared that raid, everyone just kind of quit. Like pretty much everyone in the guild just like, oh, thank God, I'm done.
Yep.
Bye. Like everyone was so done with that raid, and I was like, okay, so what do I do now? I'm the only one logging in. Um, I gotta do something. Either I stop playing or I transfer. So I
Well,
ended
no,
up
because
transferring.
we were still on Rexar for a while, right?
I was, yeah.
So we're missing an entire expansion here.
No. Oh yeah. Well. Did I? No, no, because I transferred for for Warlords. I didn't stay in Rexar for Warlords.
Where were you at?
Wormrest.
Really?
Yeah.
Was I?
Because okay, so
Oh, I
we
was raiding.
started. So
Was I raiding
everyone.
with a different guild?
No, you weren't. We started raiding in Warlords and Rexar. So like after Warlords released and everyone quitting at the end of Siege. Well, in fact, like everyone started quitting between Siege and Warlords. Like
Yeah.
that, we went like a month into Warlords with some people, and then the few people that was left for that month ended up just leaving. I stayed in Warlords for pretty much the whole expansion, just doing random crap, like just
Yeah.
questing and like pugging raids every once in a great while. Not very much raiding at all. Doing LFR. Eventually, I decided to transfer when everyone was gone, um, and like one at a time. Oh, so Jess came back, and when she came back, I was already in Wormrest, and she was talking to me about, oh, I don't know what to do. Rexar's dead, but I don't want to like pay a bunch of money to transfer, blah blah blah. So it took me a little while, but I sold her on the transfer.
Yeah,
I
and
was
then
like, this is the greatest server ever. Come on.
I think at that point that's when you're like, all right, let's see if Spec wants to get on this. And like, so me and Jess and some other people are on Warm Rest if you want to transfer and maybe start a guild. And I think at that point it was only you and her, but you made
Yeah.
it sound like it was a bunch more people.
because
So
I
I
told
was like, hell yeah, let's do it.
because I told everyone that, like, I told Zacho, hey, Spec already said yes, like me and Jess are here. Oh, and I had Kiela with me, so for those who don't know, obviously, my wife Kiela, she had stopped playing as well with everyone, but whenever I transferred, I kind of convinced her with Jess. Like I used the Jess card. I said Jess is in Wimrest now. Come on, you're the only one missing. But I used that same card with everyone. The more people I got into Wimrest, the more people I added to my speech. Come on, like Zacho and Jess are already here. You
Yeah.
wanna. So eventually, we pretty much got like the core of our group, like at least the officers from our old guild,
Yeah.
and so we decided to relaunch the guild after being gone for like almost a year,
Yeah.
almost an
And that
entire
that
expansion.
wasn't even during Legion. I think that was right at the end of
Yeah, that was that right at the end of Warlords.
yeah, because I remember we did some stuff for HFC.
Yeah, 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 that was fun. But and still, it felt like a struggle too. Like the entire Warlords expansion felt like a struggle.
Yeah, I think that was probably my least favorite expansion I've ever played. I played the least during that expansion as well.
I think it's gonna
I
go down in history as the worst expansion.
Yeah, the garrisons I think were one of the major
Oh my god.
downfalls to it. But I mean, I don't know. I don't even want to talk about it.
It's so traumatic.
Yeah, it's just PTSD
Because I
all
think
over again.
they were hoping that warlord or that the garrisons were gonna keep people busy from like so they didn't really have to do anything else, but it turned out to be this thing that you just reluctantly had to do.
Yeah, you're like, all right, I gotta log on and do my garrison stuff, and then you did that and logged off. That was Legion.
Yeah.
Like, and then maybe you raided 2 nights a week, 3 nights a week, but you logged on, did your garrison stuff, and logged out. That's the whole expansion.
Right.
Yeah, they went about the whole like keeping people busy the wrong way. I think world quests and like other like side storylines and everything that they're introducing in Legion now are a pretty good way of keeping people busy because a lot of people really do enjoy doing the world quests and like farming for their legendary that they'll never get.
Right. That's funny. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
do have to say that they do learn from their mistakes
Yeah.
in comparison, because to me Warlords was an experimental expansion. Like everything that we saw was like as far as the progression for zones and how the professions worked and the garrison, to me all of it was experimental. Like it was always everything was new, like it's systems that they hadn't had before, and turned out that they were crap. And I feel like in Legion they used the same idea for those things, took the stuff that sucked out and kept the stuff that was interesting and made it more interesting. So I do like that they do learn from their mistakes and how they do things.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think they've definitely did a complete 180
Yeah.
as far as trying to keep people happy.
Yeah. So when we move to Wimrest, we start the guild and start recruiting like crazy. And our thoughts are, and at this point, I'm not guild leading anymore, and I'm not fully raid leading anymore. So the conditions were, um, when I talked to Jess was, we can start the guild again, but I'm not guild leading. And it was the same conversation with Kiela. I was like, we can start the guild again, but I'm not guild leading, and I'll probably raid lead or help raid lead. And neither Jess or Kiela wanted to do it either. But then they talked to each other, and they were like, all right, we'll do it together. So now, so now we have two guild leaders.
Yeah. Our rating isn't. It's not like we have one leader. We have basically all of the officers running the raid, and then you're there to hand out the loot and not
Yeah,
kill
yeah,
trash.
right. That's one of my favorite perks of Loot Master.
Yeah.
I feel like that's always been the case. Like I feel that we've had the group of officers that we have, that and it seems like it's always been the same. We've picked up a few really good people for officers in Legion in the new server, um,
Yeah.
because I feel like they're very like-minded, and I think that that's, um, one thing that I don't think that we think alike, or I don't think that we particularly agree with everything, but I think that what makes us like a really good team of, guild admin is how tolerant and understanding we are with each other. And we always try to see each other's point of views. We never, like, I don't think I've ever gotten, or heard a decision from any of the officers or myself where I disagree so strongly that I was angry, you know.
Yeah.
So we moved to Wormrest. Kiela and Jess start the guild. The old officers are officers again, and pretty much doing the same thing we do. And then Jess starts recruiting like a mad person, and before you know it, we have a full roster plus some people. And so the focus of the game when the gates opened up for Legion was, let's get progression down. We're gonna try to be a mythic progression guild. Let's start hitting this strong. The problem with that was that we hadn't played with the people that we had. I mean, we did the last uh, the last raid of Warlords, like the tail end of it, when it was like when we were like overgeared, and you know, there wasn't really much to do. We just go there and kill bosses. I mean, we did have to do like a workshop thing to explain the fights, and like there's some brand new raiders. They got it pretty well, but even the brand new raiders, like people that's never raided before, already had more than enough gear to go in there and face roll everything. So it wasn't really a challenge, and it wasn't really good enough gauge to see, to gauge everyone's personalities under pressure, right? So when we hit Legion and we start, hitting this content the way we did, we quickly realized who the outliers were and who just it wasn't, gonna cut being a mythic raider right out the bat, right? Like we did not have a mythic raiding guild when the gates opened up. Um, so the focus changed a little bit when we started seeing that, and we started losing players that we know they could do great things. Um, they were doing pretty good, but we had this other group of players that were kind of not up the par, and it just felt like, some were getting hold back, some were getting pushed forward too much, some have been given more than they can handle, and so the group started, it wasn't. I don't want to say it was started falling apart because it really wasn't. We lost a few of the. We lost a couple of like really good players because they didn't feel, and rightfully so, they didn't feel that that we were advancing fast enough. So the focus shifted into now putting a competent group together and to do heroics in trying to help those who aren't ready to get to the heroic level, and then maybe then we can start moving into mythics. And we'll probably, I want to say, we'll probably be doing mythics. I think maybe by the time that the next raid releases. Maybe not the Nighthold, but the other one.
Yeah, I can agree with that. We're just trying to build. We're building a raid team right now. We've got like a half very experienced, very uh, well built roster, and the other half is basically people that either have never rated before or haven't rated very high levels before.
Right.
And we're kind of teaching them the ropes, how a raid should look, what needs to be done before a raid, after a raid, while you're not raiding at all,
Right.
and kind of learn your shit.
Yeah, and I do wanna say that, like, for some people, okay, for people, and especially for people that have been doing mythics and think, okay, well, this is not a very effective way of having a mythic rating guild because by the time you're doing mythics, or by the time you get started with mythics, you're gonna have a whole new set of people that are gonna, because that happens a lot. Like whenever you start teaching people how to do things, um, that starts happening where you start losing. But we've had. I want to say that the purpose of this is that we want to have people that are like the way our core group is. Like we want people that are like that have a friendship that's like you and I, right? Or like the 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 group from the old guild that we're still going strong, and we're still trying to make this guild work, and still putting in the work and trying to put everything together. And we want to add people to that group that we want to that we just want to make it a bigger group in the end. And yes, we're gonna lose some people that just aren't at that level. And I don't mean like a level of skill or level of performance, but just the level of personality that it takes to play um, with. And I'm gonna use the word loosely, click. Like play with your click. I think that clicks are good. I really do. I think that the problem is when you have other people that aren't part of that clique that feel like outsiders. But I think that the way you fix that, it's not by destroying the cliques. I think it's by making the cliques bigger. By making the circle of people that play with each other bigger. And I think that as we move forward in the expansion, as we start moving into mythics and getting some more heroic bosses down, we'll start having more people get to be a part of this clique.
Yeah, and it's definitely a struggle because we're all very, I don't want to say mature, but we're all very mentally stable, I guess. We all know each other and the way we joke around and when to be serious, when to joke. Like it's just we're all very similar in the thought that not everything has to be taken so seriously, but when it comes time to take things seriously, we do. And that's hard to find, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, but I don't. I think that, I mean, we've made it this far with the people that we have, and there's been some people in the guild, and I'm not gonna say any names, but there's been some people in the guild that started not so very much like us, and almost kind of frowned upon and not liked by some people that are now like, just after doing what we do, like the understanding and the tolerance and the the embracing of another person. Like they are now, I feel like they're now part of this clique, if you will. I think that should be the the episode title, clique.
Yeah.
But I really do think it's a good thing, and I really think that we're moving in the right direction, and our guild leaders are doing their part in trying to keep the peace, in trying to keep everyone happy. And like everything else and everywhere else, you can never please everyone, so you just go with the masses, and that's what's happening right now.
I'm really looking forward to see what the future has in store for the guild and the raid group.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I think it's interesting. This whole experience is new to me, and even on my side personally, in the way I play now, it's a lot different than how I played before. You know, just like the time constraint and just everything. I play a lot less, so I try to maximize my time by hopping on and doing as much as I can, and I still feel like I'm falling behind.
Yeah, I'm in that boat too because this is the first expansion that I've actually had a job in and working 50 hours a week. So it's kind of difficult. It's like working another job actually trying to play and keep up to where I need to be. So
Yep, I hear ya. And on that note, I think we should probably wrap it up.
yeah,
But this is fun. This has been fun. I think I think that we set um, I think that we set the premise of what we want to be. We really didn't get to talk about any of the stuff that we really wanted to talk about. So we have quite a bit that we want to discuss as far as the game goes. But this was more like an introductory episode for those who don't know us and
yeah.
would like to.
The pilot episodes are always the most boring. Just kind of introducing ourselves, letting people know who we are, where we came from, how the Reawakened came around, and what we plan on doing with the guild and with the podcast in the future.
Yep, yep. Um, any parting shots?
Um, for the Horde, fuck the Alliance, and live long and prosper.
All right. So I want to do a special shout out for our guild because they're doing great things, and I am enjoying the hell out of this game just because of them. It wouldn't be the same without. So
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Thank you to all of our officers, including myself and Dino, our guild leaders, Killa and Jess, and our raiders who are pushing themselves to be better every night, and anybody else in the guild who we play with on a daily basis and enjoy your company.
all right, and with that, for the horde.